Shalom Israel. Before I start, I'm going to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Waharakah Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well, to the Akims and the highways and byways, and those pushing this word in truth, sincerity, to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, I just want to jump on the back of this lesson here that one of my brothers did. Your feminine traits have been noticed to the world. And what the brother is talking about, and this is mainly to the brothers them that are teachers, what you tend to, and this was something that a sister he was speaking to, a church sister, noticed, and it's something that happens in Israel amongst the men, where instead of you have an ought with your brother, as the scripture says in Matthew 18. Let me quickly grab that. This is what we should be doing. 18 and 15. So like it says, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. And not only if your brother's trespass against you, you can use this template in correcting a brother as well. Especially someone where you're able to get in contact with them. And that was one of the points that the brother was making, that you're able to get in contact with the individual, but instead of doing that, you go and do a sit down, and it's a bias sit down instead of an unbiased sit down, normally to make the individual look bad and you look good. You're able to get in contact with them, as he was saying, maybe within an hour journey, maybe hour and mash. But instead of doing that, you do a sit down, and those around you, no, you yourself don't notice the traits that you're exhibiting, because it's saying that's a feminine trait, which it is. Those you may not see it, because there's certain things in us that others see more than we see ourselves, which is good when you have good brothers and sisters around you, because they can come to you and bring out these faults that are in you, and to help you grow and better yourself. But what normally is the case is the brothers that are around you, there's more of a respect of person attitude, where they'll keep quiet, won't say nothing to you about it, but then they'll pull others up about it. And this is something that we have to be mindful of, So it says your feminine traits have been noticed to the world. Yeah, others see these things. So I'm gonna pull this out. It says feminine traits are characteristics traditionally associated with women and femininity. So when we're doing things like what the brother's speaking about in the lesson, you're doing a sit down on a brother, more to put him to shame, make him look bad, and you end up looking good. That's a feminine trait. Traits that are more aligned or attributed, that's the word, that's more attributed to women. The scripture does say, open thy mouth, um judge righteously. And normally when you're doing these kind of sit downs, it's not righteous judgment, it's not unbiased either. The sit down is not unbiased, it's normally a biased sit down. So it lists a few traits: emotional, nurturing, empathic, gentle, sensitive, cooperative, expressive, so on. These are traits, feminine traits, that says are associated with women. But what I want to look at is where it says communicating feelings, expressive, communicating feelings and ideas openly and freely. And this is what we're seeing. Like the scripture says, if your brother offends you, you go to him. Same thing if you're able to correct a brother, you should use that same template. Go to them. But what you're finding is that brothers are quick to do a sit down, and it's normally an emotional sit down. Not always, when I say emotion, it's not necessarily being irate, which, I've seen such sit downs where brothers are in that feminine zone and they're very irate, but it can be, someone coming across sort of measured, but you can tell by the words that's being used that there's a lot of sensitivity in there, So we just have to be mindful of what we're doing. We're coming closer to the end of our walk, and the last thing we want is to be faltering in certain um, little ways that we can fix. Now, Matthew 12, was it 33 or 36? I think 36, yeah. And these are scriptures that normally are forgotten when we're operating as brothers in that feminine zone. Matthew 12 and 36 says, "But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment." Because as the brother was mentioned in the video, normally it's not a unbiased sit down. It's usually unbiased, and a lot of words are used which is normally to make the other individual look bad and make you look good. It says, "But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." Now the scripture says, even a fool, when he keeps quiet, is seemed wise. Sometimes, if you ain't got nothing good to say, just keep quiet, and your intentions when you're doing things counts, because you can say something and be in error, but your intention was pure. Or you can say something which is right, but your intentions weren't correct, weren't pure when you were saying it. And that goes back to a lesson that I did previously. Intention matters. Your intentions are plain to the Lord. So we have to be mindful when we're doing sit downs, especially when, about others, especially when you're able to get in contact with them. So, the brother's lesson is short. Check it out. It's very edifying. London CO 144. And check out this lesson there. Shalom.